How do? Beautiful day, guys. So, let's get this one out of the way. First of all, yeah, a lot of you asked me how you can support the channel, so I'm going to be starting a Patreon account. I don't know what that's about. I'm old-fashioned. I've got somebody who's helping me now with the tech. They're from Yorkshire. Good, honest people, and I appreciate everything you're doing. So there we go. So today, we're going to talk about fighting. Loosely speaking, lots of people want to know and ask questions about fighting. Have you had any proper fights in the prison system? Have you beat people up and the like? First of all, on the beating people up, right, I've been involved in some, how shall we say, rough bend-ups, twist-ups, CNR, control and restraint with some violent lads. Sometimes people who are mentally unwell, they have a superhuman strength, and lads, big physical lads as well. I have never been involved in an incident like that where I and other officers have beat someone up. I've taken punches and I've given punches out, and the paperwork reflected that. Some situations, you know, taking a punch when we're restraining something. The thing is about prison officers, you are taught to restrain people. Vast majority of prison officers, that's lads and lasses, aren't thugs, aren't going in beating people up and the like. There is an element, we know that, they've been around a long time, and there'll still be people who are like that. I wasn't one of them, and vast majority of people I work with weren't either. Everyone knows who the bullies are. The prisoners know who the bullies are, and the staff know who the bullies are. Have I personally beat anyone up? Yeah. I beat one lad up, as it were. I'll tell you about that. So, I was behind an electronic gate. It was dinner time. I was working on one servery. A lot of the wings at Strangeways down the bottom jail are split in two. So you will have, for instance, A wing inner, which has a servery, and A wing outer, which has a servery. I'm on A wing outer. There's a lass who I work with. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this lass, yeah. Before I moved to A wing, guess what? I'm not perfect. I made a judgment on my dealings with her, and I listened to some things people said about her. She was a rough diamond, yeah. I only worked with her 3 weeks. After a couple of days, my opinions on her changed drastically. She was a grafter. I was involved in some control and restraint situations with her, you know, where people were out of control, and she got badly hurt. She got stuck in and she got hurt, and she took it on the chin, as it were. So I liked her a lot. Not a lot of people did. Another thing about her that people didn't like, and this is a popular theme in the prison service, she said things how it were. Didn't pull no punches. And I appreciated that as well. So this dinner time, there's a lad kicking off on the inner. I'm on the outer behind a locked gate. People will tell you, people who've worked on doors, people who've worked in environments like that, kids' homes and the like, you know when it's going to kick off. Forensic units, you just get that feeling. Anyway, this lad kicked off. He dropped the senior officer, put him flat on his ass. He weren't unconscious, but he was dazed and he was almost out of it. And then he took this lass out. I believe he did meant to punch her, but he caught her with his forearm, took her off her feet and dropped her. I obviously saw that through the gate, but I didn't, if you know what I mean. You know when people talk about car crash moments, this was one of them, yeah? The gate opened, I went through the gate. Maybe 5 seconds, I don't know what happened. I took this lad out, rugby tackle as it were, to the far side of the landing. This is on a landing that is cameraed up, this. Yeah, I ain't dragged him in a cell. It's on a landing. I've dropped him, pinned him to the floor with my left arm and knee, and hit him 4 or 5 times with my right in the face, as hard as I could. Testament to that, my hand was a mess. There was no thought about cameras or anything else. First time in my career, completely lost it. Absolutely raging. Auditory loss, yeah? Crazy. I've thought about this incident loads and loads of times, yeah? I can't remember seeing him attack and drop both of my colleagues. I can't remember, you know, actually getting him, and I just remember he was on the floor 4 or 5 times. I've hit him, auditory loss. Then I was aware of people trying to pull me off him, staff around me, you know, Sam, cameras, that sort of thing, yeah? So that weren't an issue. That he's not in a cell, he's on a landing, there is cameras, and I've hit him 4 or 5 times with my right hand in the face. At that point, if I'd have gone back to K-Wing, during my time on K-Wing, we used to remove people from control and restraints if they'd lost it. If you see someone, young member of staff, red mist, can't control the adrenaline, whatever it is, you'd remove them from that situation, yeah? That is for their protection and the prisoner's protection. At this point, somebody, duty of care to me, should have removed me from that incident. They didn't. I ended up in the restraint of this lad. He was then restrained and taken to the segregation unit again. On the way to the segregation unit, he was non-compliant. He completely lost it as well. We must have taken him to the floor, I don't know, 24 times. That means he's on his feet, in locks, cuffed, yeah, and we've actually gone to the floor, yeah, and then we've got him up, moved on, gone to the floor. We got to the segregation unit again. Used to arrive at the segregation unit, somebody would be looking at staff. Are you all right? Are you all right? You pass the prisoner over to the segregation staff. We passed him over, I can't remember that. I remember being stood outside the office, you know, the principal officer who'd come down, the other member of staff, they're chatting, everyone's chatting, I'm just stood on my own, yeah. I am raging, absolutely raging now. So I comes to go out the seg, you have to press a bell, electronic gate as well. They open the gate, you then use a key. I've got a chain, yeah, key chain, 1 foot long, no keys on it. I've lost my keys, yeah. Again, that is a serious thing, serious breach of security. Officer losing the keys. Was I worried? No, I weren't. I just said to somebody, will you take me back to A-Wing? I've got no keys, yeah? So on the way back, they're asking me, oh, what about your keys? Oh, boom, you're in trouble. I weren't asked. They dropped me back on A-Wing. I'd lost my radio. The governor had my radio. Governor had my keys again. Nobody asked me whether I were all right. I'm raging. The 2 staff were there. They were both hurt, whiplash. Both were going to hospital. I didn't see the camera footage. I could have gone and seen the camera footage at some point. I never did. So I can't recall that part of the event. I just remember filling him in. The thing about it was, if it had been a normal restraint, there would have been questions asked, because his face was a mess. You know, I hit him 4 or 5 times really hard in the face, made a mess of his face. However, he went in the special cell in segregation. You know, it's just a bare cell. It's like a seclusion room. And he was in there 3 days. Normally, you need governor's permission. They're in there as little time as possible. He was kicking off and continued to kick off. So I went home at dinner time after this event, still raging. This was about a week and a half before my career finished with an injury. The next day I went in. One of the cleaners come up to me straight away. They're prisoners who are employed to clean the wing. He said, Mr. Samworth, don't worry about that lad. When he comes out of the block, the segregation, he's going to get filled in. We're not having him, you know, assault miss like that. Here's the thing then. Yeah, he was in bother him. If he'd have just assaulted the SO, he'd have probably got away with it. The fact that he took out that lass and hurt her, the lads were having none of that. Word had gone round the prison and he was going to get filled in, and he would have as well. He'd have got filled in when he come out of segregation, whatever wing he was on. So that's my one and only assault. Like I say, I was in some proper rough and tumbles. I've been punched. I've never been involved where a prisoner has been beaten. I remember probably one event in the private sector where something dodgy had gone on. My mate ran in before me, big lad, senior officer. I ran in after him. There was a prisoner on the floor under restraint, and there was a lad on the bed, jumped off the bed onto his back. Yeah, my mate took this lad, this is the officer, security officer, off his feet, lifted him up above him. He was a fairly hefty lad, a fairly chunky lad, and told him in no uncertain terms, if ever saw him do that again, he would fill in him himself. So yeah, fighting. A lot of rough and tumbles. Most prisoners, if they're at fault or whatever, pretty much everyone I've ever restrained have been all right with me after. A lot of first contact with prisoners was a restraint. You know, you don't know a prisoner, you go on a wing, you end up restraining him. Next time you see, you all right, boss, sorry about that. And, you know, and that's how it is. I didn't take things personal. Are you all right, boss? You know, didn't mean, it's all good with me. It's all good with me and always was. And that's another reason why I got on with people so well. Nothing were personal. So yeah, there is a lot of rough and tumble. There is bully boys, but the vast majority of staff do it right. A lot of staff get injured, believe it or not, prison staff, because you are told to restrain people. If 3 of you are trying to restrain someone who's fighting, you're going to get hurt, because you're trying to get an arm and put a lock on it. Somebody else is trying to get an arm and put a lock on it. Somebody is trying to control the head so they don't hurt the head or the neck. They're a fighter, you're going to get hurt, obviously. But that's how it is. Anyway, guys, like I said,